If some new gun control measures in Colorado are stopped, it looks like it will be because voters do it. Republicans at the state capitol have been filibustering Democrats' gun control bills because the GOP doesn't have the votes to stop anything, like the bill for a waiting period to buy a gun. But what the Republicans did win is a delay in the potential law, an opening for voters to step in and stop it. House Republicans filibustered overnight, slowing down a bill to require a 3-day waiting period for firearm purchases. After more than 17 hours of holding the floor, the bill passed, but Republicans did get an amendment that would delay the bill's implementation. It gives voters the chance to file a petition to put the measure on the ballot. We should note, this method of preemptively blocking a law after it's passed, and this one hasn't been passed yet, this method has only been successfully used by voters twice in Colorado history. Doug Coe Republican Rep. Anthony Hartsook says Republicans are ready to continue filibustering what they believe to be extreme bills from the Democrats.
We know that we're against the supermajority, but we still want to have our voices heard. And that's what last night was about. As the minority party, we're going to go in there, we're going to debate, we're going to push our issues through.
Democrats are calling for working on Saturday due to last night's delays. That would happen to keep the Republicans in Denver at the same time that GOP party leaders are gathering up in Loveland to select a new state chair. Republicans say they will be able to vote in that state chair race by proxy. The Elizabeth School Board is imploding right now over the issue of critical race theory, despite the fact that every one of the board members in Elizabeth opposes critical race theory, and it's not taught in Elizabeth schools. So last night, we told you how 3 board members are resigning because they're so sick of discussing this. Tonight, Steve Steger updates us on a 4th board member who could be on the way out due to a recall.
Nationwide, there is this massive, almost irresistible movement to start pushing critical race theory.
A February 13th meeting of the Elizabeth School Board was a real doozy. Not only did it feature community members making unsubstantiated allegations of controversial curriculum in a school district.
This is a screenshot from the Nextdoor app of a 6th grader's lesson from Language Arts.
It also included this.
And I'm here tonight to announce that the recall of Director Heather Booth has been filed today.
That's Sean McWhorter, parent of a child in the district. He's the one who filed that petition.
The public slandering of staff is unprofessional and unbecoming of an elected leader.
He has until April 24th to collect nearly 2,500 signatures.
But I ran on Kids First, conservatives for kids.
Booth addressed the recall that night, doubling down on concerns about CRT.
And I'm really proud of the conservative stand that I have taken, and to safeguard our kids and our parents. And even if it's not here, as some say, we need to put safeguards in place to make sure it doesn't come here.
She didn't answer the direct allegations in a message to 9 News today. Also at that meeting,
I just wanted to say that I support your recall because I've had some similar concerns.
Board member Kim Frumveller told Booth and fellow board member Rhonda Olson that she and another board member went to the cops to report violations of the confidentiality of executive session.
You can say, you can shake your head, there's documentation.
I'm curious to see this documentation that you have as well, because I have not violated my affidavit of confidentiality.
What a meeting! Frumveller and 2 other board members resigned this week. For Next, I'm Steve Steger.
The Elizabeth police chief told us the department referred that case down at the Colorado Springs PD where the incident happened. He told us today Springs will not be investigating. We're working on getting a police report because, let's be honest, this is wild. So stay tuned. Our next conversation tonight is with a candidate for Denver mayor promising a unique kind of crackdown on Denver's homeless population. Trinidad Rodriguez says he will forcibly institutionalize most of Denver's homeless population, as many as 1,000 people, putting them all in what Rodriguez calls a field hospital, where they would be held against their will for months of drug and mental health treatment.
It's actually a lot like a secured facility. There aren't going to be people coming and going voluntarily. That's the basis and the crux of the involuntary commitment and institutionalization. Our communities used to use institutionalization all the time, and the reason we stopped were not constitutional concerns or legal concerns or particular concerns about rights, because it is the right thing to do when people are of danger to themselves or others. The reason we stopped is because the pharmaceutical industry offered alternatives to institutionalization, which look a lot more efficient for our health systems. But the reality is, things have developed in our society where now we need something like institutionalization again to protect people from themselves and others.
Who would be going around on the streets to round up the people to take them to this camp?
So my idea is to actually innovate based on our assisted response program and make it a proactive program where we have teams of safety personnel, but also clinicians who can understand whether people are and who can quickly assess whether people are of danger to themselves and others, and whether they likely have a clinically diagnosable mental health or substance use disorder.
Are you acknowledging that there are people that you would not have the right to take to your camp?
Yeah, I think that's going to be, there very well could be a very small subset. But we're not talking about a single interaction. I mean, these interactions happen over and over and over again. And the dynamics change for people when, for example, people may not be in crisis but when they first start living on the streets. But we know the traumas they experience can very well drive them into crisis and spur on or ignite actual health crises.
In my full 20-minute conversation with Trini Rodriguez, we also discussed his plan for the city to take over Denver Public Schools and his promise to enlarge the Denver Police Department by about 25%. It's on the next YouTube channel at 9news.com. Some of Colorado's 14ers could soon be off limits to the public. 8 of the state's 58 14ers are at least partially located on private land. Those private landowners are in charge of maintaining the land for public access, and they're potentially liable for injuries to hikers if a judge ever finds that a landowner, quote unquote, willfully or maliciously neglected the maintenance or failed to post warning signs. Last week, a Republican-sponsored bill to remove that language from the law governing Colorado's recreational spaces failed. When the bill failed, a guy named John Reber, who owns the mining rights on 2 14ers, Mount Lincoln and Mount Democrat, came out and said that he plans to close off public access to those peaks. So if you're planning to hike them, he says, no go. The people behind the Colorado 14ers Initiative, a nonprofit that preserves the state's 14,000-foot peaks, says they're concerned that other landowners are going to follow his lead.
And I think it might be a domino effect where we see other landowners, not just on 14ers, but access to favorite fishing holes for rivers and water access for kayakers and mountain bikers on trails. We see more closures.
If you're thinking this sounds familiar, Reber shut down access to Mount Lincoln and Mount Democrat in the past, as recently as 2021. He eventually reopened the trails, struck a deal with the nearby town of Alma and the Forest Service. The leaders of the nonprofit Street Fraternity purposefully set up shop at one of the most violent spots in the metro area. It's out along East Colfax near the Denver-Aurora line. Street Frat offers a safe place for young men to gather each night, to hang out, study, have a meal, play games, just avoid trouble. This week's Word of Thanks microgiving campaign has raised $13,000 and counting to expand Street Fraternity's programs. So they've actually lowered the age requirement to get into their programs because they were seeing younger and younger kids carrying guns in the community, 14, 13, 12 years old. They realized that those kids were at risk and they wanted them in their program rather than out on the streets. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491 to join me and a bunch of other people in donating. For a decade now, Street Fraternity has been out in our community doing the one-to-one work with young men that saves lives before they're lost to youth violence.
Another candidate for Denver mayor has been involved in hiring police officers, and he says the department needs change.
Where specifically do you want to see change in DPD?
Culture, and that's a difficult one.
Al Gardner says we should consider raising the standards and maybe even the age to become a police officer. Next.
Denver is struggling to hire police officers. We're short of the authorized number by more than 100. Al Gardner knows that problem pretty well. The IT executive has served on Denver's Civil Service Commission, screening applicants for jobs, including DPD. Now that he wants the job of Denver mayor, he told me that the city should not lower its standards for police officers just to find more of them. You served on the Civil Service Commission. Why can't the city find enough people who are willing to be cops and sheriff's deputies?
We have a nice amount that come through, quite honestly. But we're actually doing the job that we're supposed to do, which is look at these applications and scrutinize, really put a picture together of a whole person to say, is this person really qualified and ready to be able to address the city? That's the one part of it, the kind of applicant that we're getting. The second thing is where we're recruiting from. And we have to broaden that out to take a look at where can we get more recruits. And those two things together, to me, are how we create a better pipeline toward getting applicants.
Do we need to change our standards? Lower them specifically?
Lower, no. I think that in some instances we really need to look really closely at potentially raising the educational standards. I'm not against having an AA or associate's degree in some type of criminal behavior or some type of criminal justice degree. I think we need to look strongly at that. And on the other side of that, I really think we need to look at the age limit. We're 21 now to be able to take someone in. That's a lot of responsibility and power for a 21-year-old. And I think we need to look seriously at raising that age limit.
Where specifically do you want to see change in DPD?
Culture. And that's a difficult one. It's not just getting more color inside the police office, inside the police department. It's also the culture, and that's the hardest thing to change.
In my full 15-minute conversation with Al Gardner, we also discussed why he doesn't think that arrests are the right approach to clearing Denver's homeless encampments and what he calls irresponsible growth in the city. We are nearing the end of our interviews with the 17 mayoral candidates. Thank goodness you can see all of them, on the next YouTube channel and 9news.com. But as the ShamWow guy says, but wait, there's more. Gardner is one of the 11 candidates who have qualified for our next mayoral debate happening next Tuesday. 2 hours live and commercial free, 7 p.m. on KTVD and streaming on 9 News Plus. So there are the folks participating. Here's the deal. We commissioned a Survey USA poll of likely Denver voters with our partners at Colorado Politics, Denver Gazette, and MSU Denver. Those are your 11 candidates polling between 5 and 2%. No one was over 5%. So they will debate and make their case to the majority of voters who are still undecided.
Happy Friday. Mother Nature timing it just right. Well, maybe. As far as this next winter storm, heading for the high country, it's been snowing all day. It will continue overnight into tomorrow for more fresh powder for skiers and snowboarders. This is our vantage point across the Eisenhower-Johnson tunnels. Yes, the snow is coming down, but traffic actually looks a-okay. Tonight we have mostly cloudy skies across the city, but we should stay dry. As we look on the radar, a lot of that snowfall still continuing to stream in. We will have more of it overnight into tomorrow, and we will be measuring this storm system in feet up in the mountains. You'll notice it still is kind of churning across the Great Basin. As we watch that storm roll in, it's dumping at least 1 to 2 feet around our central mountains, Surveil, Aspen, Snowmass, Crested Butte. For the San Juans near Telluride, 10 to 20 inches. A similar setup going across the northern mountains and right there around Summit County, Breckenridge up to Winter Park, 7 to 14. The caveat is we're dealing with some strong winds too. We're firing up the Futurecast, 11 o'clock. You can see that snowfall. It's widespread. For the low-lying valleys, we'll be looking at rain. For us here in the Denver area, the clouds kick off the day early tomorrow morning and possibly some light rain showers. Everything's starting to clear out, a little bit of sunshine, but I can't rule out seeing maybe a couple more showers in the afternoon. Temperatures a bit cooler than today. Wasn't it delightful in the 60s? We'll be seasonal in the 50s here for the metro area, and then a little cooler as a cold front digs in on Sunday. So far it looks dry. And then the 60s are back early next week. And I changed it. We're not looking at a storm on Wednesday.
No.
It looks like Thursday.
Oh.
But this is the interesting thing. Usually the temperatures are really warm. We get that like, oh, this is amazing 70-degree day. And then, boom!
Yeah.
It goes down.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It's still, several days away.
So wait, we had snow on 4 out of 5 Wednesdays? Is that what it was?
Well, yes, and then 7 out of 9.
That's craziness.
A trace or more. I know. Wednesdays are the day, but we'll analyze next week when we get there. Can we get through the weekend?
I like that plan. That's a good plan. Thank you.
You bet.
We brought in some help to sniff out this week's good news.
Oh my gosh, he's so cute and floppy, and he's got big old ears and big old paws.
The Boulder Sheriff's Department welcomes a new search and rescue dog raised by the family of a former officer. Next.
Your good news this week comes from a 9-week-old bloodhound puppy. Probably don't need to say any more than that.
Today is a very good news day.
I am holding Bolt, who is being donated to the Boulder Sheriff's Department in honor of my father, who was on the Boulder Police Department.
Their bloodhound retired in January. And so my bloodhounds had puppies. And they asked if they could purchase one of the puppies, and I said, no, I will donate one of the puppies to you in honor of my cousin Larry.
We so much appreciate you donating Watson to our team. I think you've met Scout, who just retired in December, and now we have a great replacement to add to the team.
My good news is that my puppy, Bolt, is going to be walking in the shoes of my cousin, who is a Boulder sergeant, and Bolt will be serving the county of Boulder as a sheriff's deputy dog. I think Larry would love it. I think he would laugh and think it's just amazing.
This is very good news for the community. This is probably the 4th generation of bloodhounds that we've helped train and place with the Boulder County Sheriff's Department.
My good news is that this dog that's being donated in my father's name, that is going to help find people.
Your feedback tonight, 2 very good questions. Next. Chris writes in, can one man or one family own an entire 14,000-foot mountain? How does that work? So, Chris, I think what actually happens is that people own the surface rights or the mining rights to an area where the most popular hiking or climbing trails go through. They don't necessarily own the entire mountain, but for people to get through, they have to go across that person's land, like Mr. Reiber's land there on Lincoln or Democrat. My apologies earlier, I mispronounced his name. Please don't kick me off your mountain, sir. Nancy, why so much coverage of Denver mayoral candidates when the majority of us don't live in Denver? The answer, Nancy, is because every Coloradan is impacted by who Denver voters choose as mayor. It is an enormously powerful position that has an impact across the state. Race is about to go from 17 to 2 for the runoff. We don't want people to be surprised and be like, well, I don't like either of the 2 choices, because now's like the time to choose. See you next time.